Hi book besties, welcome to this new video, and in this video I'm going to do something that I'm not really sure of if I'm capable of doing it, if that makes sense. I asked on my Bookstagram account if my friends wanted to give me their favorite book tropes, and I'm going to give 3 or 4 maximum book recommendations for these tropes. And I've had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tropes. But some are also combined, if that makes sense. So I think I'm just going to start with the first one. I'm kind of nervous because the thing is, I easily forgot what books are about, if that makes sense. And also I don't know if I'm like good at giving recommendations. So I don't know if this is the correct thing for me to do, but I thought it would be fun. So spare with me, please. First trope is fake dating, and I have 3 recommendations for this one. Let's start with an old one. One of the first books that I ever read when I got into reading. And I don't know, it's a love or hate relationship that people have with this book. But honestly, I love it so much. And it's The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I don't know why. I don't know why. I read this book like so long ago, like more than 2 years ago now, so I don't remember a single bit of what was in the book. The spine is so correct too, because I didn't know any better back then. But it starts, if I remember correctly, it starts when Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her into this situation. Convincing Anne is her best friend of Olive, I think, that Olive is on her way to a happily ever after was always going to be tough. Scientists require proof, so like any self-respecting woman, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. But that man is none other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and well-known ass, which is why Olive is positively floored when he agrees to keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend. But when a big science conference goes haywire and Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and his unyielding abs, their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion. Olive soon discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope. I love this book so much. I remember the scene that she's talking about, like with the abs. I remember. Also, in the book, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but in the book, you like get to know that he has had this crush on her for forever now, which is amazing and a favorite subtrope. I don't know, but I love this book so much, and I don't even remember a single thing about it, but I just easily gave it 5 stars when I first read it, so definitely a recommendation in my eyes. Then I have one of a very popular series online, and it's the last book, which is overhated in my eyes. It's like one of my favorites of the series, but again, probably love or hates relationship with the book. And it's called Hopeless by Elsie Silver, and it's the 5th book in the Chestnut Spring series. It's not really fake dating, it's more like fake engagements. Okay, so Bo Eaton is the male main character, and he's the oldest Eaton brother of the family. He's 35, and he is this military hero with a tortured past, and the town prince because he's in the military. And the female main character is an outcast bartender, a shy girl from the wrong side of the tracks. She's 22, so also age gap romance, which is amazing. She's a virgin, and they have this bet going that people, like, he went to her bar at one point in the beginning of the story, and people were treating her like trash, and she said it's just because of my last name, because she is part of a family that people don't like in Chestnut Springs, and he's like, that's bullshit. People won't dislike you just because of your last name. They don't dislike you at all. They just treat you as shit. I don't know how it went exactly. So they start out as a bet. He doesn't believe that anyone holds my last name against me, so he offers me his to prove a point. It's a win-win situation. He gets a break from his concerned family's prying, and I get a chance to shed my family's reputation. So they decide to pretend to be engaged, so people will stop treating her with disrespect, and his family will stop asking questions about what's going on in his life and why he's always running away from them. If that makes sense. And she lives in like this trailer. That's also part that I remember of this book. She lives in like this trailer, and one day the two of them arrive at her trailer and sees that the 4 tires have been slashed. I don't know if that's the right word, but they were broken. So Bo obviously is like, it's not safe for you here. You are going to my house and live in my house. She's like, I'm not going to live in your house. And he's like, yes, you are. And she's like, nope, nope, nope. And then they put her trailer in his garden or something. And then obviously they get closer. Just how it goes, you know, the typical fake dating, fake engagement romance. It's so cute because there's like, the properties of the Eaton family and her family are next to each other, and there's this fence breaking them apart, but there's also like a little river behind the properties, if that makes sense. And apparently it's part of Bo Eaton's property. But then she was sitting there one night in the dark when he also went there because he has been having nightmares. Yeah, so I don't know, I just love this book so much, and I've seen so many people hate on this book, and I don't get why. Like, people are saying that this is a bad ending to the series, and honestly, I have no idea why. But yeah, who am I to tell, right? So let me grab my notes. The last recommendation that I have for fake dating is also a pretty popular one. It's Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is kind of a fake dating, but this book I have, and I will say it again, also has some of the deeper subjects. Hopeless too, by the way. I think pretty much The Love Hypothesis too. But you know what I mean. So it starts with Harriet and Wynne, who are the perfect couple, and every year they take a holiday from their lives and drink far too much wine with their favorite people in the world, like this, their friend group. Except this year they are lying through their teeth because Harriet and Wynne broke up 6 months ago, and they still haven't told anyone in their friend group. But the cottage is for sale this year, so this is the last time they'll all be here together, and they can bear to break their best friend's heart, so they'll fake it for one more week. But how can you pretend to be in love and get away with it in front of the people who know you best? I don't know, this was the first Emily Henry book that I read and I loved it so much. Immediately bought all of her other books, but this still remains my second favorite actually. You get this flashback and all the flashback chapters tell you about their relationship and how it was, I think. And then real-time chapters who are set on the vacation that they are taking with the friend group and how they decide to pretend to be still dating while they are obviously broken up to not ruin their friend group's last vacation to the cabin. So again, definitely a recommendation of mine. Next trope I have are sports romances, and I have two different ones. So the first one is the whole Windy City series by Liz Stamford, but this one in particular, Play Along by Liz Stamford, is also a fake dating romance. Like also engagement, I think. But it is a baseball romance apparently, and it's about Isaiah and Kennedy. Kennedy has been on the medical staff for the Windy City Warriors baseball team, but she never goes out with him because it's like one of her rules. But then, except for one evening, she does go out with the team, but the two of them end up getting drunk on tequila shots, I think it was, and end up going to this, I don't know how you call it, but they end up getting married. But there is like this rule at the club where you cannot date other people on the team because then you will lose your job. But she is working like the head of medical team, I don't know how exactly it was called, but it's this sexist D-bag, if you know what I mean. So when it comes out that they have gotten married, he probably won't lose his job, but she will, because she is a woman. But obviously he wants to protect her job and doesn't know about the sexist boss, like how sexist he is to her, because he's only that way towards her and not when other people are around. So he offers to like pretend to be married for real, like that it was their plan and that they have been secretly dating for a few months and ended up getting married with like on purpose. And she actually agrees because she wants to keep her job, but then they are like, they decide to stay married for one baseball season, just long enough to keep her job safe, but now I'm using our time together. So Isaiah wants to use their time together to prove to her that he's husband material, and Kennedy K might be reluctant to join in on our game, but it's one he refuses to lose. I remember reading this and I started tearing up so many times. So that was great. So this one, and then I have another one of my favorites, and I have talked a lot about this book. I don't think there has been a video of me like doing a wrap up or giving recommendations, and I'm not talking about this book. But it's also again a fake dating, but also a Formula One romance. It's Redeemed by Lauren Asher. I love this book with all my heart. I did a reread of this book in last month, actually. And I love it so much. So let me talk about this. I'm not going to talk about this for a very long time because it's going to take me a long time to go over all these books. But whatever. So the story starts with Chloe, who wants to take like this DNA test to see where like she is in search of her father. And she gets this DNA test from her best friend and she does it, and apparently her father also did it. So she goes to, I think it was Italy, yeah, to find her long lost father. I don't know how she decides to do it, but she ends up climbing in a tree to like go into this house who she thinks is of her father, or like get a sneak into the house to like get to know him, but not like go in, like break and enter, if that makes sense. But she climbed the wrong tree and looked into the wrong house because suddenly there's this gorgeous man standing like at the bottom of the tree, and she falls, loses her phone, and he thinks that she's this reporter because he's this famous Formula One driver. So she goes away. He still has her phone from like falling from the tree. The next day, she goes again to his house. She goes back to his house asking for her phone, but then she likes, I don't know how to say this without being like, without it sounding like weird, but she goes into the house again by climbing the tree. Suddenly he's there with his sister, her husband, and their child. And they, like, he, like Santiago, the male main character in this book, decides to like pretend to his sister and her husband and their child that it's his girlfriend, and that's why he has been hiding away in his apartment slash house slash mansion for the past few months. Because he didn't want to like, I don't know why exactly. And she obviously goes along with it. I don't know why. She doesn't know why. He doesn't know why he lied to his family in the first place, but I don't know. They pretend to date, and then it's like this sleepover with his cousin, like the child of his sister. And obviously he also thinks that Chloe, the female main character, is his uncle's girlfriend, so she has to be there. So they spend more time together and get closer, and you know, the obvious again. So again, really recommend that one. It's one of my favorite and probably will always be. Then someone said confident girl slash shy boy, and the only book that came to my mind with this trope is also one of the most beautiful books I have ever read, and it's Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I just love this book so much. So I'm just going to read like the synopsis. Dr. Brianna Ortiz's life is seriously flatlining. Her divorce is just about finalized, her brother's running out of time to find a kidney donor, and that promotion she wants, well, that's probably going to the new man doctor who's already registering 87 on Brianna's pain in my ass count. But just when all systems are set to hate, Dr. Jacob Maddox completely flips the game by sending Brianna a letter. It's a really good letter, like the kind that proves that Jacob isn't actually Satan. Worse, he might be this fantastically funny and subversively likable guy who's terrible at first impressions, because suddenly he and Brie are exchanging notes and sharing lunch dates in her sob closet. When Jacob turns out to be the perfect donor for her brother, Brie starts to realize that this quietly sexy new doctor might just be her perfect match too. Their first impression of each other, of like her first impression of him is not so good, and he has anxiety. The way his anxiety is described and portrayed in the book is amazing and so beautiful. So that also adds to the beautiful scale of this book. But he isn't really good with words, like saying them to people, so he decides to write her a letter. She finds the letter beautiful, so she writes one back, and they end up exchanging notes like for a really long time, and like leaving them, I don't know, like on their computers and on their lockers and stuff. And they end up having lunch in like a little sob closet where she goes to like cry, and he entered after their first impression, before the letter, I think it was. So after the little notes and the letter, she invites him to have lunch with her in the closet because she knows now that he isn't really doing good with crowds. So the cafeteria isn't really a place for him to have lunch. So they end up having lunch together at the little sob closet. And it's really cute. I love this book so much. The next book that I have is Brother's Best Friend. That's the trope that I have. And the books that I have are, let's just start with another from the Dirty Air series. It's not really brother's best friend, but best friend's brother, sister's best friend, you know? And it's The Right Move by Liz Stamford. This book is so loved online too. Again, those two have worst first impressions of each other because the first time that he saw her, she was crying on his couch in his apartment because at the time he was living with his sister, who is best friends with Indy, the female main character. And she was on his couch crying over a breakup or whatever. He is being promoted to captain of the Devils, Chicago's NBA team, basketball team, I think it is now. Like, is it basketball NBA? I think it is. Indy is moving into Ryan's apartment because his sister moved out and she needs a new place, apparently. But then the team's general manager accuses Ryan of being a lone wolf with no work-life balance, and he might just have the perfect solution. I'll pretend to date my outgoing, emotional, way too tempting roommate, who was just, when he was having this conversation, she was like walking on the, I don't know how to say it, pitch field that you look like, if you look out of the office of the general manager, you look on the pitch or field. I don't know a single thing about basketball or baseball, whatever, but I think it's basketball. So he's like, I'm not a lone wolf, that is my girlfriend actually. So they pretend to be dating. So she agrees to be his fake girlfriend because she also needs a date to the wedding where her ex-boyfriend will be attending. So, you know, they get closer and obviously, again, fake dating. What is happening? Are these all fake datings? I swear to God, they have all been fake dating. Because yours truly also has like a fake dating. Right? Yeah, because she wants to do it for him because he gave her brother a kidney. Oh my gosh. I really love like the fake dating trope, if that wasn't obvious already. But again, those two are so cute, and definitely, again, a recommendation. Then I have Wild Love by Elsie Silver, one of her newer books, and the first book in the Rose Hill series. And it's about childhood best friends Ford Grant and Rosie Belmont. Ford Grant has been labeled as the world's hottest billionaire by Forbes, but all he cares about is escaping the press and opening a recording studio in the gorgeous small town Rose Hill, something that comes to a screeching halt when he ends up face to face with a young girl who claims he's her biological father. Because if you didn't notice, the Rose Hill series is also a series where every book is like single parent, you know. And after years of living in the city, Rosie comes back into town like a storm, beautiful, messy, and chaotic. One wide-eyed, desperate plea for a job is all it takes for Ford to hire her. He vows to keep her at arm's length, but with her, verbal sparring is a type of foreplay, friction that soon turns to be blistering heat. Ford knows damn well he shouldn't cross this line, but shouldn't and can't are two very different things. And the only thing he truly can't do is resist her, because they also were like always were friends growing up. Together with her brother, Weston Belmont. He's the male main character of book 2. So after years of like escaping Rose Hill and moving to the city, she moves back, and Ford offers her a job, and they like renovate this recording studio together and build the recording studio together, you know. So again, I really love how this series has the covers that like tell you about the book, because here it has this key thing. A little spoiler about the book is she had this journal slash diary when she was younger and she locked it, but he has kept the key to the diary and journal. I think she lost it. He found it, but he never read it, or I didn't think he did. But kept the key on a chain around his neck for the years that she was in the city. And when she comes back and they go swimming, my dog is awake, I'm sorry. And when she goes swimming, or like they are wrestling by the pool, I don't know, just usual things that people do, she sees it and he's like, of course I kept it, you know, the usual. So again, I really love this book. And then the third one is one that is very underrated, very popular too. Elsie Silver is re-releasing this series with like new covers, and I think she's now at book 2, maybe book 3, I don't know, but this is book 4 in the series, and it's A False Start by Elsie Silver, and it's book 4 and the last book in the Gold Rush Ranch series. So this book starts where Nadia Dalka is kissing slash making out with a stranger in the bathroom slash sinks of a, I don't know, club probably. And then Griffin enters and he's like, move, please, thanks. And the dude that she's kissing is like this ass to him, just saying like, use another one. But then Griffin tells him to like leave or something, and then Flash forward, she, like, Nadia asks Griffin to kiss him, saying that they are these two strangers who've never met and never will meet again, until, again flash forward, it turns out he is her brother's best friend that she has never seen before. Let me tell you about this. So the synopsis is written in his point of view. I kissed my best friend's little sister and the world stood still. That night we were two perfect strangers to town, grumpy recluse and a gorgeous girl in the back of a bar, until we weren't. Because Nadia Dalka isn't just some girl, she's a girl I can have, 14 years younger than me and completely off limits. My plan is to stay away, but the universe keeps pushing us together. It's like some sort of cosmic joke to give me a taste of something so electric, so real, something that breathed life back into me. Because I can look, but I can't touch. Her sinful curves, her light-hearted laughter, her wild side, I'm addicted to every last bit of her, and when she turns those sultry eyes on me, the one so full of longing and so free of judgment, sorry, I've always considered myself a strong man, but when she looks at me, I'm weak. To give in to your connection would be a betrayal. My life is beyond complicated and she has a world at her fingertips. Her brother is the only family she's left, and sad as it sounds, he's also my only friend. But I kissed her again anyway. And now I can't stop. Can you see it? No, you can't. That's really sad. But again, love this book so much. Single dad tropes. I mean, who doesn't love a hot single dad? Apparently, if he's also a cowboy. The first recommendation for the, how do I say this, single dad trope is Heartless by Elsie Silver. Probably the most popular single dad book on earth. Single dad slash nanny is probably one of the best tropes out there. Like, we gotta be honest. When they meet, like Kate and Willa meet in like a coffee shop, I think, and it's ridiculous, but she has this like extra pair of underwear in her purse, but they bump into each other and it falls out. So she, I don't know, runs away because I don't know, she's new in the small town, so she's like, whatever, I have to go by. And then suddenly he is looking for a nanny for his son, Luke, when his sister-in-law suggests her best friend, and he says, okay, but you know, she can't use my son to get closer to me, because that's what his past nannies have been doing apparently. And she's like, don't worry, Willa isn't like that. So when Willa is knocking on his front door, he's like, you are not going to nanny my child when you are dropping underwear wherever you go. So obviously, again, not very good first impression, but you know, Willa and Luke spend some time together and they have this day filled with laughter, if that makes sense. So, you know, Kate is setting his first impression of Willa to the side, and he's like, okay, fine, my son is having a good time with you, so you can nanny him, but you only have 2 months, and then when summer is over, probably it's summer, your contract's over and you have to go. You can stay in my house, because you know, that's easier to work with. And obviously, when you live in someone's house, you like see them a lot of the time, if you know what I mean. So again, they get closer and have shared some hot tub evenings. I have to say more, honestly, no. So really love that book. And then another single dad slash nanny trope book is another part of the Dirty Air series. Not Dirty Air, Windy City series. Wait, did I say Windy City series with this? Because it's Windy City series, it's not Dirty Air series. I'm sorry for the confusion. So this is book 3 in the Windy City series called Caught Up by Liz Stamford. And it's about Kai, who has a son, Max, and Miller Montgomery, who is the daughter of his coach. There's no easier way to say this. But again, like a bit of the same first impression. They share this elevator ride together while she is standing on the elevator to go to her dad with beers in her hand to celebrate something, I don't know, and he like sees her and has this first impression that isn't really great because, you know, she's having beers in this early of the day, if that makes sense. And then his coach tells him that he has to find a solution for Max because Max obviously can go with them on the road, but it's not really practical. And because Guy has fired all the previous nannies because apparently, again, they were just like using his son to get to him. I don't know exactly how it went. He's like, I have someone in mind and you can't fire her. And then it turns out to be his daughter, Miller Montgomery, who is a high-end pastry chef who recently won the most prestigious award in the industry, and she's desperate to prove that she deserves it. But with a new title comes new pressure, and she can't create a fresh and inspiring dessert to save her life. With only 2 months to get back on track, she should be focusing in the kitchen, but instead she let her dad talk her into using her time off to nanny for his stars player's kid. Kai Rose forgot how to have fun and I'm eager to jog his memory, but when he and his son start to feel like home, I have to remind us both that my time in Chicago ends with this summer. Besides, I've always been a runner and the last thing I want is to get caught. Again, really like this book. It isn't my favorite of the series, but it still is a really good single dad slash nanny trope. Like, really good. And then another favorite of mine, I have one of the grumpiest single dads who has also a sweet spot for the nanny. And it's Love Unwritten by Lord Asher. I love this book so much. Oh my gosh. This book released in like June and I have read it 2 times already. So I think that's enough because this book is like 600 pages. I went through a roller coaster of emotions with this book. Ellie is the nanny of Raphael's son called Nico, but also his music teacher. And Raphael is this grumpy boss who like overloads himself with work because his son is being distant to him. And they like have this accident at like the house because Nico has this illness slash disability, and it has gotten worse. And Ellie wanted to tell Raphael, but Nico told her, like, you can't. But then there was an accident, and Raphael got to know that Ellie knew and didn't tell him, so he fired her, but then, groveled his way back, if that makes sense. And then they went on a trip to Hawaii together because Nico was mad at his father for firing Ellie, and was calling everyone for saying it's cancelled, and if they wanted to go in his place that they could go. And then Raphael did everything he could to make amends with Ellie and rehire her. And then they went on this trip together, obviously, again, got closer. And people say they hate thick romance books with a lot of pages, but this book meets every page that it has. It's amazing, and it all adds so much to the story, and it's so cute. It has amazing, beautiful, cute moments, but also moments where I was tearing up. So really, really love that one. Let's check. And then found family. I have one trope in general. Just the Chestnut Springs series. I think that is one of the series with the most found family tropes you can ever get. When you read that series, you're I don't know, part of their family. Everyone is so close and has this bond together. It's amazing. But there are 2 books left on my shelves, and the other I have already spoken about. So I'm not going to go into that. Found family, I also have a book recommendation. It's book 1 in the series, but book 2 is releasing in February of next year, 2025, but I can't pronounce February, so sorry for that. But when I was reading Bound to You by Bridie Charles, it's about May, and the story starts, it isn't about, but the story starts with May and Isla, who have car trouble, and they're saved by Caio Marchetti, who's a handsome stranger. He drives them, after talking to them of course, to this little small town in Italy called Ruby Cove. Again, I've already talked about this book so much, but they end up in his friend group. He always shut himself out in his office doing work because he has this successful hotel and has a lot of work. But ever since Isla and May arrived into the small town, he got out of his room way more than before. And just the memories and the moments that the entire friend group had together screams found family. So again, definitely a recommendation. Also, it's an amazing romance book too. Not just a found family, but the romance too is amazing. Then I have Friends to Lovers. And then I have 2 recommendations. I'm going to start with the book that I literally finished an hour ago now. I don't know. But Daydream by Hannah Grace. It's a pretty much recent release. I think it was released in August. I'm not sure. But they meet and they get closer, they become friends. She is writing a book but she has no romantic or life experiences like going on dates or like getting a boyfriend who treats her right. That's an important thing. He has this struggles with his studies and some of his classes, so she helps him with that and like annotates some of the books he has to read to like write an essay about, if that makes sense. Like she does all of these things for him that makes his studying easier for him, and he, in exchange, he offers to give her romantic and life experiences, and again, it's so cute. Those two are cute. So yeah, Daydream by Hannah Grace, and then again another book by Elsie Silver, and another book in the Chestnut Spring series, and it's Powerless by Elsie Silver. It's about two childhood best friends, two broken hearts. Jasper Gervais, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, I'm really sorry if it isn't. But he's this hockey heartthrob on TV. So Sloane is about to marry her fiance when she gets to know that a few days before their wedding he cheated on her. So she blows the wedding off, and who is there to save the day? Exactly, her childhood best friend who she has loved for years in secret. And so Jasper, the male main character, takes her on this road trip, and yeah. Obviously, I don't really know what this book was about anymore, because this definitely wasn't really one of my favorites of the series. I loved Hopeless, I loved Heartless, I loved Reckless, then was Powerless, and then was Flawless, but they were all like 4 stars and above. But I have no idea what this book was about anymore. But it definitely was Friends to Lovers, and it was so amazing. Like, so I remember some of the moments, but I don't really know how the story goes anymore. But definitely a recommendation. And I'm definitely going to do a reread of this book soon, because I've already told my friend last week that I was feeling like doing a reread of this book. So you know, it's calling for it. And then the last trope that I have is enemies to lovers. Obviously romance books don't really have enemies to lovers, like fantasy books do. So I have like this dislike to lovers recommendations, and also a true enemies to lovers recommendation. My first ever fantasy book that I read, and it's Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It's about people in the kingdom of Ilia, and there are two kinds of people. There are the elites who have possessed powers for decades, gifted to them by the plague, and then there are ordinary people who are banished from the kingdom, all because they didn't have power. No one knows this better than Peyton Gray, an ordinary posing as a psychic to like, psychic is one of the elites, like one of the power that an elite can have, to blend in with the elites. When she unsuspectingly saves one of Ilia's princes, Kai Azer, she's thrown into the purging trials, brutal competition showcasing the elite's powers. If the trials and the opponents within them don't kill her, the prince she's fighting feelings for will, if he discovers what hating is. Completely ordinary. So she starts the book with robbing him, like stealing from him, like, let's be honest, stealing from him, and then a few moments later she saves his life. Completely normal. And then he has like this bond towards her and a connection that he doesn't understand. So she is asked to join the purging trials where elites have to like fight each other, but she obviously isn't an elite, but she pretended she is when she was talking to Kai Azer. But she isn't. She's pretending to be psychic because her father learned her all of these tricks to like get in the mind of people, you know? So True Enemies to Lovers, definitely such a good book, and I'm so excited for the last part of the trilogy to come out in April, called Fearless, I think. So definitely a recommendation. And then I have the last one. And again, sorry, because this isn't a really old book. But again, it's one of the first books that I have ever read and one of the first 5 stars that I have ever given. It's been a long time, because if you see how much these annotation tabs stick out of the book, you can see how much progress I made, because now they almost don't stick out anymore. But it's The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. Again, a fake dating. They are co-workers, but they they can't stand each other. But when Catalina Catalina needs a day to her sister's wedding, because she has told her family about her American boyfriend, and it spiraled out of control. Now everyone she knows, including her ex-boyfriend and his fiance, will be at the wedding, and she only has 4 weeks to find someone willing to cross the Atlantic for her and aid in her deception. New York City to Spain is no short flight, and her family won't be easy to fool, but even then, when Aaron Blackford, the 6'4", blue-eyed pain in the arse, offers to step in, she's not tempted even for a second. Never has there been a more aggravating, blood-boiling, and insufferable man. But Catalina is desperate, and as the wedding gets closer to more desirable an option, Aaron Blackford becomes. I did a reread of this book in the beginning of this year. I still love it so much. It's like a typical book talk romance, so obviously there's a lot of people who don't like it, but I definitely do. It's just such a quick romance, funny. You don't have to think about it. Like, the time flies by when you read this book. I don't know. I love it so much. It's so, I don't know, it's so romancy, if that makes sense. So that was the last book recommendation that I have, sadly. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video and if you have gotten any recommendations out of this, because I am really bad at talking about books that I have read a long time ago and don't remember what they are about. But anyways, I still hoped you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing because it's completely free and it would help my channel a lot, actually. Don't forget to like, comment if you have read any of these books, or if you will read any of these books now that I hopefully convinced you to. And again, really sorry for this chaotic, not able to speak English properly video. And I'll see you next week. Bye!